Welcome back, everyone. If you could please like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. So in today's video, I'm going to critique images that were submitted to me by people who follow me on Instagram. I simply posted in my story that I was doing this critique for YouTube. If you would like to participate in the next critique, there's two ways to do it. One, you will certainly be selected, and that is to join my website, The Academy with John Gress, where twice a month I have a live Q&A and critique session, and I critique all the images that are submitted to me by members in those sessions and answer questions. Or you could email them to john@johngress.com to be considered for a future YouTube video. Also, just know that I'm trying to give things that will help you improve your images in this video, tips on how to improve things. I've selected these images because I like them. I'm going to point out some things I think could be better about them. It doesn't mean that I don't like them at all, and it doesn't mean that I'm having a negative reaction to them. I'm just going to talk about the things I like, talk about some things I think could be improved, because everybody's made mistakes, including me. I make them all the time. And so just know that I'm coming from a position of trying to help in this video. So let's go over our first image here. It's of a man drinking whiskey, something that I do like to do on occasion. The first things I'm noticing is I like the light that's on his face, and I like the way that the colors complement each other. So the blue in the gel is opposite of the color of the whiskey, and then there's that red color in the background, which I believe that together is triadic color harmony. I could be wrong, but it's something like that. I think that's the answer, since tri means three, and there's three different colors. Sorry, there are some loud trucks going by. So the way that I sort of think I know where the photographer is coming here with this blue light. I think the reason why it's here is to give us this sense of nighttime. To me, nighttime blue light feels like it should be diffused, that it should be very subtle and soft. And so for this blue light source, I would turn it down for one, so it's not so bright. That way we'd be able to preserve those highlights on the back of his neck. I also would have it be potentially more diffused. It does look like it is a harder light source. So a larger light source or a light source that's closer to him. I'm sorry, there's two things you can do to make a light source softer. Three things. One is you can move it closer, because a softer source is a source that is larger relative to the subject. Okay, so that's one thing. So you can move it closer. You can change it from being a hard light to a softbox, that sort of thing. You could also increase the size of the softbox. So I guess there are four things you could do. Or you could add a layer of diffusion, like a shower curtain, tissue paper, or a scrim, like an official piece of photo gear. Those things would reduce and make this more subtle. So that's something I definitely would do. The other thing is I feel that his gaze may be a little too high, and so I would try to have him, when I was shooting it, I would just tell him to look a little bit lower, probably straight across rather than up. But I understand that there is a sense that he's thinking. That may be more nitpicky than the blue light, but it's an idea too that might improve this image. So let's go on to our second image. So we have a person here in some sheer fabric screaming. The overall color grade is blue. I know that's not actually the color. It's more subtle than that. I saw something once that men only know 5 basic colors and women know like 30. That feels very true at the moment. So I like this image overall. I'll tell you what I like about it. Oh, I didn't think I was going to have a critique to make about this image, so I'm actually glad that I've come up with one. I think it looks great. I think the art direction is perfect. I think the lighting that's soft and from above is great. I think the expression is wonderful. Now that I'm looking at this image a little bit longer, what I want to do is I want to shift the person down a little bit lower. The reason why is we could talk about the rule of thirds. That is the idea that your subject should take up 2/3 of the frame in some context, but not half. So the best way to describe the rule of thirds would be a landscape analogy. So if we were taking a picture of a skyline, you would want for the skyline and the buildings to take up the lower third of the picture and the sky to take up 2/3 of the picture. Or you would like the buildings and the land to take up 2/3 and the sky to take up 1/3. It's going to look a little weird if the tops of your buildings are right there in the middle. And that's what I feel this photographer's done by putting the top of this person's head dead center in the frame. So this picture would feel better to me if we just move the person down. So I would just crop out an inch. Well, I would just crop out what is probably maybe 4 inches or more. I guess it doesn't matter, of the person at the bottom. Just know that what I'm getting at is I want the person to be in the lower third and I want the top third to be black. So I might just chop off the bottom and then extend the black background even further. The reason for that is I want there to be space the way the person's looking. I think it will just feel better to me overall. Okay, so let's move on to this next frame of the gentleman in the red suit in front of the red background with all of the luggage. I like the way that the red tones in the clothing and the background and also sort of the orange tones in the luggage play really well together, and then that's set off against the brown tones in the luggage and his skin tone. So all of the colors work really well together overall. Now, all of the critiques that I have for this image are all mistakes that I have made myself. So I'll start off, I'll go over each one. Just know that I have made all these mistakes. And so it's coming from a place of experience and that sort of thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is the kicker or edge light. A lot of times I want to think about this type of lighting. Okay, let me rephrase all of that. So normally when I'm doing lighting or thinking about lighting, I want to think about what is the motivation for that lighting. Is this shoot a bright, sunny daytime shoot, or is it a nighttime shoot, or is it a window lit shoot? What exactly is our motivation? If I look at this picture, it feels like it can be a nighttime shoot because the lighting is harder. It's really kind of too hard for a daytime shoot. Everything is a little too hard, contrasty, and punchy to me. Now, all of the light though is very daylight, so that doesn't feel like nighttime. So that sort of feels like we've got two different things happening. Then it also feels like daytime sunlight because daytime sunlight is hard and contrasty, yet we're indoors. So the thing that feels a little discordant about this image is that perhaps the lighting is feeling like it's outside, but the image is more likely than not inside. You know, I guess we could say that there's a red wall outside somewhere, but I don't think that was the motivation. So going along with the idea that the motivation for this image was a daytime interior, let me talk about how I would improve the lighting. So the lighting for a daytime interior is usually going to be fairly soft. So this kicker or edge light to me feels way too contrasty. So it either is too small of a source, or it's too hard of a source, or it's too far away. One of those things. So I would move it closer. I would have it be a larger softbox, and that sort of thing. I would also turn it down so that it is very subtle. Maybe it's half as bright as the light hitting his face. I normally just want a subtle little light that pulls the person off the background. Then let's talk about his body and its relation to this edge light. If he were to rotate his hips slightly so that his left side were back a little bit more, that edge light would come across and strike his abs, and it would strike both his left side of his abs and the right side of his abs, leaving a pattern that was highlight, shadow, highlight. There would be a shadow going up the middle of his abdomen, and it would look very nice and very flattering. So having him turn his hips just about 2 inches so that his left side is further back and his right side is slightly forward towards the camera would get you that sort of ab definition. The next thing is the hair light. The hair light to me feels like it's off center. It feels like it's directly in the middle of the picture and not in the middle of the subject. I understand how this could happen. It is that I think how it would happen is you light up your set, you've got the model in the middle of the backdrop, and then the model changes their pose to be off to the side of the backdrop. And when that happens, then that changes the whole mood and the whole, it changes where the lighting's falling. So a lot of times what I will use for my hair light is a 1 by 3 foot strip softbox, and that way if they move a little bit side to side, they're going to still stay mostly in the middle of that light. Also, it feels like if I'm using something that's 6 feet wide, that just feels way too wide, and I end up getting a lot of wraparound across the top of the forehead and maybe like on the sides of the face. Like, it's just not a good thing. It's way better to have it sort of a little wider than shoulder width. So that's what I think about the lot with hair lights. That way, if he does move over there to his left, it's not the end of the world, because right now there's a lot of highlight on his shoulder here. So I think that it's a good image. I'm just saying these are all little things that would improve it and make it better. So let's talk about this final image here. We've got this gentleman in front of, let's see. Well, it could be a softbox on one side and a V-flat on the other. However, there is a light coming from above and behind, which I guess could happen if we had a large softbox back there and it was like this, and we had the V-flat off to the side, and so there was white showing up. From your perspective, let's say that we have, see if there's anything here in my desk that could make more sense. Got some model releases. All right, so let's say, oh, this is even going to be more fun. Okay, I have a model release. This is our softbox, and then guess what this is? This is our V-flat, also known as the Seattle Seahawks napkin, left over from when they were in the Super Bowl. All right, so if this is our V-flat and this is our softbox, the softbox is over there on the model's right. So then we have the V-flat that would come up sort of behind it here, in front of it here. And then the result would be that there'd be light on the top that would come over and get the top of his head. That would give us a hair light. And then there's light over on this side, and that comes forward, and that gives us an edge light. So that's what I suspect is happening in this lighting setup, that we've got a large softbox as our background, and our person is standing in front of it, sort of right about here. So the critique that I have for this image, I'll put my napkin down and my model release. So the critique that I have for this image is that I think it should be more split lit. Right now the light is coming in from about 45 degrees. You can tell by the shadow on his nose which way the light is coming from. It would feel better to me if the light was coming more from the side. And the reason for that is I think the lighting feels like it's extremely split. I'm sorry, the reason for that is the background feels like it's extremely split. So I want the lighting on his face to be extremely split. If you put it directly to the side, you will only get one eye illuminated. But if you bring it slightly forward of him and bring it in, you'll be able to get light under his right eye. Not too much, just a little. And that's just the difference of moving it from maybe, let's say, 45 degrees over, a little bit more, so that it's maybe, if this is 0 and this is 90, maybe we're moving it to 75 degrees or 80 degrees, wherever it needs to be, so that you see that shadow fall. The nose shadow falls and the eye on this side is barely illuminated. Well, I think that about wraps it up. If you're interested in participating in the next YouTube critique, provided I have one, just email your images to john@johngress.com. Or if you want to participate in the Academy live Q&A and critiques that happen each month, you can find more information about the Academy at johngress.com/academy. There is a 3-day free trial if you want to check out the content there. You'll find longer format tutorials than what you'll find here on YouTube. You'll get early access to my YouTube videos as well. You'll also get access to those 2 live Q&A and critique sessions, a members-only Facebook group, and discounts on in-person workshops. So for more information, just go to johngress.com/academy. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.